So this is one of my favorite pictures of the South Saskatchewan River, and it's just to remind everybody why we are here. This is what it's all about, and my background is cottonwood science, riparian habitats, so this is a good picture because it shows a little string of cottonwoods. What you don't know about that picture is we were up in a very small plane, which I normally love, on one of the windiest days in southern Alberta you can imagine, and the videographer we had taken with us to film the entire thing was throwing up in the back seat. So I actually shot that with my phone, and it's pretty good for an iPhone picture, I think. We told him we could land in Bow Island, but he said no, I'll be fine. so he sat in the back, and that was I've been in lots of planes, but that was the worst landing I've ever had in my life too. Nasty. So, but we survived to tell the tale. So I'm glad to follow the previous speaker, and it's nice to have this theme about engagement and partnerships, because I think there's a bit of a sea change. We've talked the talk for a lot of years, and I think we are actually starting to get some of this quite right. And the last year, as Mark said, it's been an interesting year at SEAWA. But we've done a lot of good stuff, and we've gone back to some of the basics. Excuse me, some of the basics, and we're trying to remember what we're doing, why we're there, and who our partners are, and how we can take advantage of what's already been done. So, how exactly do we work together? We've talked about Water for Life already. Both previous speakers have talked about that. And we all know it says one of the key principles is that we share responsibility for water management and we work together. But that's often easier said than done. And there was a little video on the internet a few years ago that showed some wranglers herding cats. It was a great video. Couldn't find it. Didn't know if I'd have access to put it in here. But that's how I feel sometimes about working together. And a lot of people in the room are at a government level. It means one thing, but the WPACs are at the ground level. So we are the ones sitting with various sectors, battling it out, throwing things across the table at each other. And it is difficult sometimes. And if you can come to any kind of consensus, or even what's could be considered close to consensus, you're achieving quite a bit. Early on, when I first came to SEAWA, when I was 12, we did a risk analysis of effective management, watershed management. We wanted to see what the barriers could be, and nothing's changed since, I think it was 3 years ago that we originally did this, when we started talking about our watershed management plan. Our first risk, or one of our top three, we said that there's a risk that jurisdictions, implementing agencies, and stakeholders, including the public, will not be engaged in the watershed management planning process. And that's still very real. It doesn't matter how, what lofty goals we set, but that's a real risk, that they might just not really care, some of them. They don't have the money, they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, and it's not a priority to them. So it's still a real risk. One that we feel the pinch down in our corner of the province, although every WPAC here I think will say the same thing. There's a risk that insufficient data will hamper our ability to protect and maintain everything we need to protect and maintain: water quality, water quantity. We always are crying for more data, and not just more data, better data. There are long-term river network sites that have a lot of water quality data. There are some places where water's been tested 3 times over the last 30 or 40 years. Sure, that's data, but is it usable data? Not really. And sometimes it's in a form that we can't incorporate it into what we need to incorporate it into. So there's a risk that inadequate resources will limit the implementation of our sub-regional management plan. Resource is a big thing, and I don't just mean people skills, money. We have resources in terms of our relationships with our local municipality, not everyone enjoys full participation from the counties or the cities that they have within their area. So those are resources as well too that we have to consider. So again, huge risk. So this is our old graph that we put together many years ago. And again, I would debate that this is exactly, if we did this tomorrow, it would be the same thing. You can look at number 1, 2, and 3 over on the right-hand side. Significant impact and likelihood that those 3 things would affect our ability to do watershed management the way it should be. Again, no engagement, insufficient data, inadequate resources are the top 3. Lack of cooperation is a 4, which again came under significant. And then population growth and development and climate change were in our top 6, but they didn't rank as well because those are unknowns. How could anybody really work with some of those things effectively at the level at which we have to work, which again is ground level with the stakeholders. So at SEAWA, we truly believe that the quality of the analysis that we do of any of the work we do and the resulting advice to the government could be constrained by the resources that are available to us. Again, we want to do good work. We try to do good work, but that is the reality. Maybe it is impacted a bit. We also think that access to current spatial data, and not just spatial, I'll put that in because that's a project I'm referring to today, but access to data is critical to ensure that we do a good job and we can give the GOA what they need. They need information to help support decision making. And we think that if we can get what we need in terms of data, and if we can work with it, then we can share it back with the GOA and they can do what they need to do with it to better inform the planning activities that were just described to us in terms of integrated resource management. So again, I'm happy that we seem to be on parallel courses. WPACs, I think, are evolving. There's an expression, is it forming, storming, norming, performing? I think we're moving along quite well. I think the forming and the whichever the second one is, has happened, and I think we're starting to take off a little bit. So we asked for help at SEAWA, and we got it. In June, there was a really successful, what I thought was successful forum, ESRD WPAC forum, and we were told, what can we do for you? This is a new era of kumbaya. We want to help you guys, and so right off the bat, I'm pretty cheap and always looking for opportunities. And so I jumped onto this immediately. I said, you know what, there is something you can do for us. So put her there, buddy. And we had some really good meetings. We asked ESRD, the Integration Planning Branch, to give us data and GIS support because we wanted to do a foundational mapping project. We wanted to do a land use inventory for the region. And this is not new. There are land use inventories all over the place. They've been done in the province, whichever incarnation of Alberta environment at the time did them. And there's also a history of them working with WPACs because the Old Man Watershed Council did one in the late 90s for their area. So anyway, we said, can you do this for us? And they said, hey, that's a good idea. And when I say they, I mean Brendan Hemmons was instrumental in helping us with this, and he did a lot of the heavy lifting. He and I met, and then I just actually met yesterday with one of the GIS people that's going to be the project manager, and they've done a lot of work to help us move this along. So anyway, they agreed that we could do a pilot project, and I'm okay with pilot projects. No point wasting millions of dollars if the first go-round's not going to work. So we said it was going to serve as a test to develop protocols for the provision of data to SEAWA, and ideally this would be to other WPACs in the future. But because we are a smaller watershed, we don't have as many intensive uses, intensive needs in terms of data. It's a nice spot to start. And they also agreed that it would relax the demands on our limited funding and allow us to focus on what we can do better as a value-added analysis. So we don't just want the inventory. The whole purpose we are doing an inventory is so that we can see if there are pressures on water quality in the region and then focus our efforts on monitoring maybe in those locations. Again, wide open watershed. There's no point in us asking ESRD every year, Amera, to monitor all these creeks or all these lakes if they're low pressure when they're really not going to some of the ones that our stakeholders have identified do need more attention. So we signed a project charter, which is a new way of doing things. Happy to do it. It's I think it's a really good document, and I'm excited about it, actually. So SEAWA does bring a few different things to the table. We're not just asking for stuff. We're going to pull our weight. We, as everybody knows, WPACs have been prided themselves on bringing people to the table, and that's what we do. We have a forum for regional stakeholders to meet, share information, discuss land use and potential water quality issues and priorities. And this is reflecting just this project, but because we get people coming to the table to discuss things all the time, but we're focusing right now on water quality. We can identify critical gaps in the local watershed knowledge, and even yesterday after meeting with our GIS person, we've already tightened our list of what we need to do, what ESRD can do for us and what we need to do. We already have identified some gaps. We need to acquire data through other partners. ESRD does not have all the data. They are not the holders of everything. There are irrigation districts out there, there are counties out there are municipalities out there, other jurisdictions that we have to come up with the same type of agreement. We have to convince them that this is valuable. And frankly, already having ESRD on our side has opened some doors to us, because we can say, now we have a project charter with ESRD. We're not doing this on our own. We're not a little group off to the side akin to a tree hugger group. Like, this is legitimate. We are trying to get this done. So that's, again, given us some leverage. And we can also assist in developing implementation strategies. Promote the adoption of the management plans as they come through, and we can help monitor progress as well. So what's in it for the ESRD? The work's going to enhance the planning branch's understanding of the data information needs of WPACs, and that understanding can be used to improve data sharing consistent with their open access initiative, which was just previously mentioned. It can contribute directly to improving the ability of SEAWA and hopefully ultimately all of the WPACs to fulfill their mandate and deliver, I said mandate, sorry, Mark, doesn't like that word, to fulfill their mandate and deliver high quality advice and products to their members in the GOA. And it can also contribute to strategic goals identified by the planning branch. They have something going where they're trying to improve data sharing with watershed planning and advisory councils. So when you talk about alignment, this is perfect alignment between what they're hoping to happen in their halls and what we're hoping to happen. And as if we needed even more reasons to be doing this right now, or for ESRD to partner up with us, it's also contributing really closely to the objectives in the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, and I've listed some specific ones. The plan says they want to support the work of WPACs on watershed assessment and planning under Water for Life strategy in alignment with regional planning. It also says they want to support the work of the WPACs, including development of watershed management plans. They want to, within the strategic, the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, it says they want to ensure that land uses are considerate of the key functions and strategically important locations of wetlands, riparian lands, source and recharge areas to ensure key function in each watershed area. Increase the knowledge of riparian lands, including continue to work on mapping, this is really specific to us, and inventories and working with partner organizations. And encourage decision makers and land managers to use the available planning information, including riparian and wetland mapping and inventories, environmentally significant areas mapping, and groundwater vulnerability mapping. So these are all things that we hope we will work on within our land use assessment piece, which, as I say, we're doing the inventory now. The assessment and analysis is not within the scope of our project charter with ESRD. So we will spend the next following year working on that. And then by the following year after that, so 2016, we hope to take some of this out in terms of best management practices and things too. So I will end with one of my favorite pictures. This is a sign in our watershed, and I think it's perfect for WPACs. It's perfect for our summit today, and that's what we all hope to do. Everybody has different ideas when they come to the table, and if we can have partners to help us accomplish some of what we want to do, then that's all we can really ask for, I think.